Well, hello. I am not the face you're looking for. I am a guest. Please call me Adrian. I can't see the chat. I'm just going on my phone, and I've got the camera set up as nice as I can here. I'm not really a regular podcaster, but I do like to show up now and then. Anyway, I hope you're all having a fantastic day in North America. I'm calling in from, not calling in. I've been invited from Canada to be a guest. Please call me Adrian. Felina's just gone to breathe some fresh air, and she wanted to start the podcast with me here talking. So, since we're here, I'm going to read to you something very cool. This is from the Daily Stoic. It starts with a quote. This is for February 24th. Keep in mind that it isn't the one who has it in for you and takes a swipe that harms you, but rather the harm comes from your own belief about the abuse. So when someone arouses your anger, know that it's really your own opinion fueling it. Instead, make it your first response not to be carried away by such impressions, for with time and distant self-mastery is more easily achieved. That was written by Epictetus from Enchiridion 20. That's the book. Anyway, yeah, so there's a lot of inflammatory conversations going on, a lot of upset people. This is true, that's not true, this is true, that's not true. And arguments like, la, 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 I don't believe you, aren't going to go very far. And it can cause a lot of inflammation. So I would say just put a filter on it and say, it's not that sticks and stones won't hurt you. It's your perception of those things. So make a choice to try and react less when someone's not listening, or if you're not listening because you're just going to butt heads. Just take a step back, be cool. You know, it's not easy to do, especially with all the agitation going around. But if you can take a step back and monitor yourself, like, are you agitated here? Is this noisy? Calm it down, look what's going on, and try and go from there. Hey, welcome back, Felina. Oh, she's on mute. You're muted. No, you gotta unmute your mic. No, No one's hearing you. There you go.
Oh, now I can't hear you.
Hi.
You're very...
That's crazy.
Oh boy, and my lights aren't.
Now you got your light show on.
And you sounded very, very well how you greeted the crowd there. Robert Freed is in the building. I haven't seen Robert Freed for a long time.
Hello, Mr. Freed.
He's he's half Comanche, so don't get on his bad side.
Was it the lower half or the upper half?
He's got an adorable kitty cat.
Hey, fantastic. So, cats are good company.
Yes, a Siamese, really adorable Siamese. So okay. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are concerned about what's going on. And there's a lot of different angles that we can look at what's going on in the world. But Adrian, since you are Canadian, give us a rundown on what's going on in Canada before we spread out to the authoritarianism that is pervading the whole world right now.
Certainly, yeah. Well, basic news that we had in Canada was that there was, in fact, martial law for about 48 hours, and Justin Trudeau repealed it, thankfully. But yeah, our beautiful, gorgeous coiffured leader. I think it's okay to say that in Canada. I'm not sure. What we've noticed is that peaceful protesters get beaten and trampled. The enforcers that were involved with breaking up the peaceful protest were not wearing name tags or badges. They were in unmarked paramilitary gear, dark green, and UN airplanes were parked and came in to land on an airstrip at that time. So it is believed that Trudeau called in UN forces to attack his own people. So that happened. I was going to go to the city and see what was going on. I was going to go to Ottawa and see for myself with my own eyes and glasses what was going on, but I think it might not be a good idea right now. So, I mean, it's a tough sell, right? If you're going there to peacefully protest, that's one thing. But at this point, well, at the point I was ready to go, the only option left to be there would be to show up and get beaten and possibly arrested and maimed for life. So that's a hard sell. I mean, the point was made. The point was made. The protesters, and here's the funny thing. Some people were saying that the protesters weren't really truckers. Well, I know they were operators because they drove their trucks. That they were planted. I don't know. I mean, I have my old Kung Fu teacher was there, and he was telling me what a wonderful time it was until it wasn't. They had to make corrections. So at one point they were blocking too much traffic, and they were ordered to stop obstructing the traffic. So they did, and they let traffic pass through. They were honking their horns a little too much. So they were ordered not to honk their horns quite so much, and they stopped. They're very compliant but peaceful protesters, right? So, but when they were asked to leave, they didn't, and that incensed our gorgeously coiffured Prime Minister. Did you know that Trudeau actually has a youth program for kids?
Oh, just like Adolf Castro.
Just like, yeah, someone with a gorgeously coiffured mustache. Yeah. So, and he's been not smuggling, but there's some weird financial shit going on with that. So that's very interesting. So he's had that going on for some years. So he started a youth program. He's a dictator, or likes to grab power whenever possible. That's his nature. Whenever there's an opportunity to grab power, he seems to want to go for it, and he doesn't get checked very often. He's been on the ethics review board at least 3 times. I don't know how he keeps getting embedded. We have the same Dominion voting booth, casket, whatever the fuck they're called. So, no one's tested them for accuracy. I guess accuracy means Trudeau's in power forever. So, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
Because he's on the side of climate change. So even though he has used shoe polish on his head from stem to stern, innumerable times that we cannot count.
Right.
Because they're on that bandwagon and considered liberal, just like Governor Northam in Virginia. He didn't know if he was the guy in blackface or the guy in the KKK hood and sheets. He didn't know. They just doesn't matter. They just are flaunting it in our faces. They can do what they want, and they can call. Where did he get the idea that he's getting tied up in the courts here? He wants something with no proof. Where does he get the idea that these truckers are white supremacists, or they know that's the worst thing you could call anybody, and and that'll damn you. They can do. They just
it's shaming language, right?
Means you're the worst of the worst.
Well, he uses shaming language, and
there's no proof, and they think. I know they must think, but it is true if you call someone those names, there's a whole segment of the population that will believe you without evidence.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
In this country, it's the Democrat Party that was the party of the KKK that continues to call the party of Abraham Lincoln the party formed to abolish slavery constantly. Every Republican president, from Reagan to Bush to the other Bush to Romney, anybody he didn't become president, Romney didn't, but they still called him that. And for some reason, and the idea is that they switched parties. All the KKK, Jim Crow Democrats switched. If for some reason the Republicans became the white supremacists, racists, and then the Democrats became the people who were against slavery and KKK. It makes no sense at all.
That's revisionist history for you. The people who own the media tell the story. Yeah.
But people believe it. Like Sheila
Isn't that crazy?
Agreed that, yes, Robert Byrd was the grand exalted Cyclops of the West Virginia KKK, but he changed. He changed? How did he change? When did he change? What did he say that he changed? Are you sure that
people are known for changing? Yeah. Have you ever tried to change somebody?
Yeah. And a certain president that we had never was. There's evidence, truckloads of evidence that he's not. But if he were caught in blackface, he would be hung, drawn, quartered, burned at the stake. They couldn't do it enough. And there would be no such thing as redemption or change. And so I have no idea how Robert Byrd changed when he was the one who sat on the Senate floor and filibustered the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act to prevent blacks from voting, to prevent civil rights from being passed. But somehow he changed. And that's the scary thing, that they can call you whatever name they want to call you, and you're it. As long as if you're a Democrat, you're okay. If you're not a Democrat and they call you that name, that's it. That's the end of you for all time. Part of me thinks that, when you really see the list of things Trump did that were completely the opposite of racism, that he's done things that none of them have ever done, nor president has ever done since Abraham Lincoln.
He certainly did a lot. Yeah, he did a lot for your economy. He did a lot for people. I believe he put over 8,000 pedophiles in jail. He did a lot of things. Yeah, from my point of view, looking at what Trump did, or what that fast president with no name did, he was a real patriot. Looked very patriotic to me. He loved America. He loved his people. And when I listened to him talk to the people he was talking to, like unedited, I don't know what you'd call it in the U.S. In Canada, we call it the parliamentary discussions. So you can watch Parliament discuss and debate things. And when you watch this sort of thing with Trump, where he's talking to people who need his help or his advisors or whatever, people who when the vassals would come to the king's court and petition the king for attention, when he was doing that, he was quite good. He wasn't. Seemed all right to me.
Yeah, but he has a list of things. So, won't go into them now, but just a list of things that makes it absurd. Absurd, the thought that he could be racist at all. And then you've got Trudeau, who, if people out there don't know this, that Hitler started the Hitler Youth. So inducted the children in as young as he could. And what the Nazis were into, they were uber environmentalists. So you think the environmentalist thing now? Hitler was an uber environmentalist, just like Democrats claim to be now.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he was a vegetarian or a vegan. There's a famous picture of him, Adolf, and Ava at Berchtesgaden. They're sitting out there after they've eaten, and they've completely passed out. And apparently he didn't drink alcohol either. So because the blood sugar, there's no protein to stabilize the blood sugar. So that could have contributed to his insanity. I don't know if Trudeau eats meat, but he's
a soy boy.
Segment of the population that are vegans and who are environmentalists are the ones that are calling anybody on the other side or Trump Hitler. When Hitler, this was Hitler's thing. He tried to get them when they're young. And I forget what I was going to say. But anyway, it's really it's a mind flip, and they make any reality that they want to make.
Yeah,
and that's a scary thing. That's what the Ministry of Truth in 1984. Well, that's what they did. They recreated reality every day, and so you realize that they're uber class, and they can be amongst their friends. They don't need to wear a mask. This is what they do, and they flaunt it in front of you. This is what you will find in authoritarian regime. This is exactly how they do things. You can't, but they can. They will change the law at a whim, and you won't know the law's changed. So the thing, when I think about people who are censoring speech, that's trying to let you know what history says and what happened so it doesn't get repeated again.
Yeah. We would like to stop repeating history.
Right. They don't know that they're going to have to live under if this regime is treating us like this, there's no guarantee that they're not going to turn around and treat you like this. If you think you're going to be one of the heads or of this movement, and you're going to be safe because you paid your dues, you censored people, you called them, you destroyed people, whatever, and you think you're going to be saved, you're not, because there's, like you said once, you can only have so many leaders. Can't have too many leaders. And
That's right.
I'm afraid that these politicians think that they're all going to get a seat at the table with the Fuhrer.
No, there can only be one.
Whoever it is, they're not. There's too many of them. And what they do end up doing, and we're unfortunately seeing this now, it's the same playbook. The playbook is much closer to what Mao did, because he terrorized the people and sent out the Red Guard, where they were like Hitler's youth. They were the youth, and they would beat up elderly people. They would dig up graves. They destroyed artwork. They destroyed the history of the country.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing here. And
Canada too.
Right, are living under a tyranny. Well, people can't take it anymore. And so people in China ended up committing suicide. They couldn't take it anymore because, like we saw in this country, and Trudeau backed it, the riots where it was okay for them to go out, burn down a city, destroy businesses, even minority-owned businesses, loot and about 35 people were killed.
That they know of, yeah.
They can do this, but we can't protest peacefully. We're the evil ones. If they hear that we're on the wrong side, they're going to watch us, they're going to censor us. This is what happened under Mao. You've got one group that can wreak havoc and terrorize. That's what they were doing. So they were trying to decrease the population. And in 4 years, 45 million people died. They starved to death. There's a couple of different, like the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward, where he wanted China to produce, to be the world's leader in steel. So people didn't have steel, so they melted down their pots and their cutlery to give that to Mao, because they had to do it. People ended up starving to death, and in 4 years, 45 million people died. And then by the end of the revolution, 78 million people died, possibly 100 million. There's no way you can
well, with starvations and so on. I mean, like, for example, in Venezuela, another fine place, it's no longer, doctors and hospitals are no longer allowed to list starvation as the cause of death. So
that way there's saying that
there's going to be no records.
The government starved the people to death. They don't want that getting out.
No. So it's I mean, this game's been played for thousands of years. I would say if you can, get a place in the country, grow your own food. If you're old and you can't, well, I don't know. It's pretty grim. Maybe it'll tighten up. We'll see. But
you know, I used to I used to pray.
Yeah.
And somehow I don't even feel like that'll help anymore. This is when you've got Canada falling, our good neighbors to the north, and then you've got our borders open where we are going to be paying for them. And it's estimated that 3 million people are coming over the border, and they're emptying out their prisons in South America. 120 countries are flooding in through the border. And there's 450 million people south of the Rio Grande. We can't pay for these people. And shuts off the Keystone XL pipeline. So by doing that, we're buying oil from Russia, who Putin is supposed to be evil. So why? And you want the world dependent on Putin oil? Sounds like your friends. And everything, people don't realize when in this where I lived, electricity went up several years ago. Everything goes up. People don't understand that everything goes up. Gasoline goes up. Everything goes up. Because businesses have to compensate for that, and they pass it on to us. You were going to say something?
I forget what it was.
Okay. And I noticed, because I get subscribe and save from Amazon, because I want to keep Jeff Bezos's cock rocket upright. But he's just, I don't have a car, you know, it's just kind of, and it used to be good, a good deal.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing prices skyrocket. There's some dog food that went up $10. Some treats that were $4.49 and now are $8.49. Then I wake up to the oil prices. Gas is going to go up.
Yeah,
it's going to skyrocket.
I paid almost $2 a liter for gasoline, almost.
And we've
so what's that? Eight. I don't know, $10 a gallon. So no, wait. In a U.S. gallon, how many liters are there? Is it 3.7 or is it 4.5 liters per gallon?
Oh, okay.
Well, anyway, it's not a huge deal.
I'm sure Robert Fried would know. Robert Fried is enough.
Yeah, 1 second.
I know he wants to come on. I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork down. So there aren't too many people talking at the same time. So we kind of get something out and then bring on people a little at a time. Otherwise, I didn't want the topic to go in a bunch of different directions. I want to kind of keep it on what's going on. But they are, it isn't like we dislike anybody in the world. When you've got prisons being emptied out, you've got MS-13, you've got fentanyl coming over the border. I was at 460 people died in San Francisco of fentanyl overdose last year. And apparently TikTok, which is owned by China, they are recruiting young teenagers like the like the red card.
Yeah, well, TikTok is interesting, right? With TikTok, the algorithm for TikTok in China rewards socially good behavior, like being kind, having manners, doing good deeds. Whereas in North America, TikTok rewards debauchery.
Oh, that's interesting. That makes a lot of sense because that's what they're doing. They're getting these young people to drive.
All these kids are shaking their ass in the TikTok.
These drug cartels, bringing them into the country, driving down there, bring them into this country to disperse the fentanyl. And it was the fentanyl is now the number one killer as far as the drug goes in this country. And when you think about it, you say, "Oh, COVID, they want to save us from COVID. That's why we have to put the masks, we have to lock down, we have to social distance."
Yeah.
But the fentanyl, the drugs, the human trafficking, which is slavery, the sex trafficking, we're seeing tons of, not college age, military age men from 18 to like 34 coming over the border and moved country. And they're telling us why are they doing this when we can't afford? I mean, they're raising our costs on everything. They're by shutting down that pipeline, everything is going through the roof. And if you're poor, you're not going to be able to heat your home. You're not going to be able to pay your bills. You're not going to be able to buy food because everything is skyrocketing. And I remember when I started this channel, I pretty much started out warning people of the what do you call it, the decay of the society when
societal decay is rampant.
Right. When communism comes in and what things happen. And the idea is Mao's China, how that was brought down. And we're seeing, the whole we're tearing down the statues, even of Abraham Lincoln, even of Frederick Douglass, who was a black slave in the South that freed himself and then worked with the president. That he's been torn down too. These people don't know history. They don't know these people are not even white. Even Abraham Lincoln wasn't white. He was a Melungeon. People call him, and it was very well known when he was running for president that was white, because he was in debate with Stephen Douglas, who was the Democrat. He was a Republican. He was the Democrat running for president, and Stephen Douglas represented the South. And in those days, no TV, no radio. People had to read the debates in the newspaper. And he looked at, he knew that the Republican platform was to get rid of slavery. And because the South, Thomas Jefferson said, we give you 20 years to get rid of slavery because it doesn't belong in our country. And, our country was the first and fastest to get rid of slavery, where it had occurred in the world since the dawn of time. And there are 40 million slaves that we know of in the world today, in primarily Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, which nobody's doing anything about. But he looked at Abraham Lincoln and said, "Behold, your first Afrikaner president." I don't know where the word Afrikaner comes from. It sounds like is that Latin
Sounds
for
Dutch.
What?
Dutch. Isn't it Dutch, Afrikaans?
Africano, as an African with an O at the end. Is that Latin? Would that be Latin? But that's what he referred to him as. Because,
don't know. Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln had very dark skin. And they knew, it was common knowledge, that Abraham Lincoln was Melungeon, which is triracial, which is Native American, black male slave. Because when the child, black male, if a black male slave had relations with a white woman, the child was born free. If a white guy had relations with a female black slave, the child was born a slave. So that's why these people, they belonged to no community. So they kind of congregated in Appalachia. And because Native Americans, even though you were part Native, didn't accept you, you didn't belong to any community. So they kind of started, intermarrying because they didn't belong anywhere. Today is a little different. If you're quarter black, you're all black. If you're an eighth black, you're all black. But that comes down from Jim Crow laws, where if you had one drop of black blood, you were all black. And the interesting part about that rule, Adolf Hitler, when they were trying to put together their rules to treat the Jews, certain communities, as vermin, because they told the people that these people are spreading diseases. It's them, so they have to be confined to the ghetto because they
you got to vaccinate them. Give them the vax, those anti-vaxxers. They're spreading disease.
That's right. They treated them like people who don't want to get vaccinated because we're not sure in the long run, or if you're pregnant, you don't know what's going to happen. People don't know. And since the vaccine doesn't stop you from getting it or passing it, it's kind of, and if you do get it, maybe a vaccine could have helped, but now they're starting to recognize immunity now, natural immunity, and how that works even more. I got vaccinated, so I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I do understand these things. So, but anyway, Hitler, they wanted to know how to control these populations. And they said, well, there's an example, and it's in America. In the South, they have these Jim Crow laws. And so Hitler adopted the Jim Crow laws from the South, from the Democrat-run South.
Yeah, he was in cahoots with the Democrats. They exchanged letters.
Right, and so they, in the South, if you have one drop of black blood, you're black. If you were Southern Italian, you were also considered black. And so Hitler thought to himself, and I'm saying Hitler's really bad. I couldn't say
We're not saying Hitler's amazing,
but he said that it's got to be more than that. He said you have to have 3 Jewish grandparents for you to be Jewish, because one drop was kind of like, realistically, it's kind of hard to tell if you one drop or that a tiny amount. I guess I knew that he also, just like China, they had something against God and religion. And so that's why communism takes God away. And it's interesting what has been happening in Canada, that they've been arresting pastors, closing churches. It's a full-on
strong, it's disturbing, right? The Christians in Canada are persecuted in some areas. I've caught more than one friend condemning Christians. I mean, I've got no problem condemning the church. The church has a lot to answer for, but Christian families, on the other hand, are different. Christian families are good, wholesome people, or they try to. I mean, yeah, there's exceptions. There's some nut bars out there. But generally speaking, all the Christian families I've interacted with have been wonderful, wholesome, hospitable, and well-adjusted. So, I mean, not all of them, but most of them. Like I said, there's a few nut bars out there, but the ones who really take the spirit of it to heart ought not be persecuted, in my humble opinion, because they're not breaking any laws. They're building up the economy. They're adding value to their lives and their households. Anyway, so Trudeau does not like Christians. He said that the idea of European Christians free is revolting to him, something to that effect. So we can expect there to be problems.
He's been to mosques. Right? I know he's prayed at mosques, and there's a question that he may have converted. We have no issue with mosques or people who are Muslims at all, because just like Christians, there are good and there are bad. But he seems to want to eradicate any religion, but so maybe he is Muslim, but I don't care if he's Muslim. But he wants to eradicate other religions, and that's a problem. In here, people couldn't even drive to a parking lot to hear Easter service. That was against the law. So, but other things like you could go to the grocery store. There were certain businesses that were open that everybody went to, and I think that if you close most of the businesses and everybody in town has to go to the same grocery store, and the grocery store's hours were cut too, so they can sanitize. So you have more of a chance on going to the grocery store than you would going to church or being outside in your car. You can even do that. So what's going on in Russia? Or Russia invading the Ukraine? There's a different
we're being told.
There's a different take that I heard on Jimmy Dore. And he said that there's a section of the Ukraine where the people consider themselves Russian and they speak Russian. And they said that very interesting, he said that the democratically elected president of Ukraine was ousted in a coup that was organized in 2014 by the then president, which was an administration that Biden was the vice president of. So they actually ousted that president and put in somebody else. And then, of course, our president now, his son got a job on the board, basically on the board of Burisma energy company, and not knowing anything about it.
He's not really qualified.
If you know about the escapades that I'm not. These lights are not good. There's no hope for these lights, man. Okay. His life is something other than working and going to college or learning anything, like having children out of wedlock with strippers. And the stripper named the baby Burisma. He didn't want to pay for the kid. And then she took him to court and he has to pay for the kid. And he was kicked out of the Army, or was it the Navy, because of his cocaine use. So he was getting these exorbitant salaries from the Ukraine. Or Ukraine, it's not the Ukraine. It's from Ukraine. So we don't apparently this country or that particular administration doesn't have any issue with throwing people out of office or literally taking over a country. And it's not it's not the only time that we've done such things. We meddle in the elections in Israel because they didn't want Netanyahu there anymore. So our country paid the opposing side to try to get rid of him. And there's been some other things that when the president before the Führer Trump was in office, when he was a senator, I used to do very deep dive research, and it worked very well with my Chromebook. And since I have this old computer, I used to gather voluminous amounts of information to literally do a report. And I found there's a thing called USAID that he used to get the a certain president elected in Kenya. And this particular president wanted to enact Sharia law, even though Kenya was not majority Muslim. But he got USAID, and USAID is supposed to help like victims of natural disasters, or if the people are starving because the crops didn't grow or something. But he used it when he was a junior senator. Not that there's anything wrong with this, to make sure that this guy won.
Democracy is inconvenient for some people.
And so there was about 6 countries that when I did that investigation that he had meddled in. So the idea that there might be another reason why Putin is going in, and apparently Jimmy Dore said that there was literally massacres of people, exterminating people, the Ukrainian government, not Ukraine, people from Ukraine that are living in the Russian side. So I don't know if this is true or not, but Jimmy Dore did say he's been right on so many things, and he's been interviewing really big people that have really opened our eyes on the truth. And isn't like it's just coming from Jimmy Dore. We do find it's coming from other places. And so we know that the people that he's bringing on, we can kind of trust. So tonight he's saying that that the people in power now in Ukraine are actually white nationalists. It's like, when I hear that word, it's like, I don't know what to believe anymore, because that has been thrown around so much. I don't understand why they would be calling anybody because in that region, pretty much everybody is white. There isn't, like, if you're saying, okay, they're oppressing, there's a community of Asians or Africans or just some other non-white community there that are being, or Jews, they don't consider them white, that are being oppressed. I mean, Hitler didn't consider Jews a white race at all. So if they were doing that, oppressing a group of people, but if everybody there is white, it's not a white. Maybe you're a Ukraine supremacist, or kind of like somebody who belongs to the Democrats in this country. Unless you're a liberal, if you're a liberal, you can get away with blackface. You can get away with wearing a KKK outfit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can do anything. Authoritarianism. You can get away with calling people who are not white supremacists or racists. You can call them that, and you get away with it, and you've stigma just like Hitler did to the Jews and the Gypsies, and stigmatized a whole community. So I kind of don't understand that part. That kind of a bell goes off in my head. That's what I'm saying. He's presenting this. He's been right many times, but sometimes I found that the smarter you are, usually it's in the case of somebody who's is an intellectual, really smart, and 98 or 95% of everything they say you can back up is true. Then they throw in something that's actually a lie that isn't true.
Yeah.
And people say, well, they've been right about everything else, and they believe them, right? Just like people believe the New York Times, they believe the media because the media, we always believed that the journalists, the anchors on television, were presenting.
Well, they had built up some trust over the decades prior.
Yeah.
But even if you were to watch, was it Anchorman 1 or Anchorman 2? One of the Anchorman movies, they actually show you how the news is corrupted by the sponsors.
Yeah. There's something very recently.
All that great information about COVID brought to you by Pfizer.
That's right, Pfizer. Pfizer was going bankrupt, and then all of a sudden they made almost $300 billion. It's just like this huge amount of money.
Mm-hmm. Staggering.
And
yeah.
So did Gates, and not that they shouldn't, and Bezos. Not that they shouldn't. I mean, they certainly deserved that through the lockdown to make billions of dollars.
Yeah, but they don't need to go controlling the country.
Right. But why?
If I win the lottery, it doesn't mean I've won Canada.
I mean, people are suffering. It's like sometimes it's like you build up goodwill. Instead of coming out making money, it looks like you went into this to get a profit based people who are suffering. And there's no compassion for people who've been living under lockdown. You're vermin if you don't obey us and get the vaccine. But there's no compassion or compassion for children who are committing suicide.
Well, no, I mean
people who are committing
people on
suicide or ODing.
Yeah, good. Good. Get rid of them.
Right. It's like they don't care. They don't care. It isn't like when 9/11 happened. We, just as Americans and people throughout the world, they cared, and they saw what was devastating, and people were nicer to each other.
For a little while, yeah.
The Muslim community suffered. Though George Bush should say it's a religion of peace, he should look at this as Muslims, not all Muslims, it's a religion of peace. I don't want to disregard anybody being treated wrong because of that, terribly because of that event. But people were just nicer to each other. They knew that everybody's heart was broken. And this time, they don't care. You just and neighbors against neighbors. If they see you in your yard without a mask. I walked home. There wasn't even a mask mandate. I walked home. I was outside. I walked in the middle of the street, dragging a cartload of groceries in the middle.
Okay.
Apparently, it was like the telephone where everybody had texted everybody on the street, because I was walking down the street in the middle of the road without a mask, and nobody was outside. There wasn't one person outside of their house. And the woman who lived next door gave me a homemade mask, which she handed to me, and her kids made. So how sanitary is this mask? I'm
sure it's full of bacteria.
I'm not quite sure. But she told me that they're calling her up to get me to wear a mask because they're freaking out. It's like, excuse me? This is summertime. This is sunlight. I mean, you're in your house. Or is this is as blue.
Yeah, you're in your house breathing in all the dead skin cells and fart gas and whatever else you got going on. And then you want to condemn people who are outside?
In the middle of the road. I try to be as far away from everybody as possible. And we have a situation where, first when Trump ran for office, everybody who supported him was deplorable, all white racists. Everybody was with the same thing. And then, even though Trump was in office, somehow the idea of lockdowns and masks came from the Democrat side because they were trying to save lives.
Sure.
It had nothing to do with Trump. You must be a
Every
Trump
theft is
if you don't
disguised
want
as
to
a gift. Yeah.
It's because he was trying to find an answer. He was trying to find. He got the vaccines on warp speed. He's trying to find therapeutics that were working for some people. Maybe it's a placebo effect. I can't want to say that any of those things help,
Right.
because I would be
actually, I can't speak on it personally, but if you go to the Canadian COVID Care Alliance.com website, you'll find all kinds of interesting things, especially if you read the FAQ. But hey, what would I know?
There's just things that we're not. That's it. We are the group of people that can't say anything. You can't think anything.
Well, we've been demonized.
Yeah. And with this whole, they say that Putin is going to align with President Xi. They're using this because they smell blood in water, and because we are a very weak nation. I mean, we have a corpse as a president and a pot smoking alcoholic hyena for vice president.
Oh my God, hyenas are terrible.
I mean, that's what she sounds like. We know when she talks about smoking pot, so I'm just going to assume she smokes pot because she talks about it all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. It might improve somebody else. It maybe it's her laughter. Some people can do things and they're fine. They can drink, they can smoke pot, they're fine. Whatever is going on with her, I don't think I shouldn't put the blame on pot or alcohol. Whatever's going on with her efficiency, what's making her so efficient, is something else. But she's got very intelligent parents. They're professors, and her mother is a Brahmin.
It doesn't mean they don't get hijacked by their feelings or that their sense of morality doesn't get used against them. Like if you were to ask people, they think they're doing a good thing by shutting up the rest of the world. But they believe they're doing what's right. And that's what's interesting, is that they've got a very strong religious mindset towards what they believe, and they're not changing it. It's baffling. It's the mass hypnosis. It's the mass effect from the mass hypnosis.
Well, we know this. She admitted this. She was on Colbert was interviewing her. What she was doing was she was collecting money, donations from people in Hollywood to bail out the rioters that were burning down the cities, murdering 35 people, looting, to bail them out. And then we have other people who weren't. They were just trying to protest peacefully, and they're done. They're all done. But she said that they're rioting and they're not going to stop. She has a smile on her face. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep rioting or protesting, whatever she thought. But they actually bailed. There's no there's no accounting for it. That's like the Red Guard. That's like Mao's Red Guard.
Yeah.
But at the end, we know what happened to Mao's Red Guard. You have to bring order back. You terrorize the populace. You lower the population of the world. That's a part of the whole climate thing. Is there's too many people in the world, and we haven't had a world war for a long time. And
we're having one now.
Used to basically look at each other. They considered it as a way to, or I should say, I did hear a politician say this. We used to have world wars, and that would lower the population. But we don't have that now to lower. It's the whole push to lower the population. And that's what climate change is about, lowering the population. So the idea of canceling the Keystone Pipeline and then letting Putin build his pipeline, where the world, putting us in a dependency, we weren't dependent on anyone, and we were making money selling oil. We also have clean burning coal, if anyone knows. It's clean burning coal, so that means there's no carbon emissions.
It's not
gas.
1920 anymore. Yeah.
Right. And we have natural gas. We've got more than enough under our feet. And that burns clean too. So if you're talking about carbon emissions, stopping the drilling for this stuff is ridiculous. It's just putting us in the poorhouse and raising the cost of everything. And then there's poor people who can't even heat their homes.
Well, that's just it, right? You know, Prime Minister, is it Trudeau? Well, someone in the Canadian government, anyway, shut down the fracking. Now, there's that you got to look into it and see both sides of that. But my understanding was that they found a way to get the oil out fairly cheaply, but that's not being done. So similar to America, we have a whole supply of oil in Canada, but it's probably going to be sold to China the way they sold off all our gold to the Chinese. All our gold mines are sold to the Chinese. So we have no gold. We got nothing. And I think they're going to do that with the oil.
China has no regulations on anything. And we've got, was it 2/3 of the world don't have any carbon regulations? And yet he has stopped the drilling and the Keystone Pipeline, which is much better than if you have a tanker going to get the oil from across the sea and then bringing it over here, which it could burst. A pipeline is safer and it's cheap. And, you know, if you're poor, you can heat your home, you can raise your family, you can feed your family. And I remember Jen Psaki, she's the press lady.
Oh, right, her. Yeah. She took over for Mickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickanickani
they asked her, well, what about the price of heating oil and everything's going up? And she looked at them and said, well, we should be off of that. You should be getting off of that now. Okay, so what are we going to do to heat our homes? The world runs on fossil fuels. The entire world. China, Africa, India, Sri Lanka, Russia, don't have any regulations. When I heard that they let the Paris Accord let China off the hook, and they're building up they're building a coal-fired power plant, not clean burning coal, one every 5 or 6 days. I said to myself, I heard this in 2014, I said, climate change is BS. This is a lie. Yeah. This is a lie. And then the president that was in office at that time put in such stringent regulations that either businesses went out of business, manufacturing, or manufacturing went over to China. All you did was move the manufacturing to a different place that doesn't have regulations on carbon.
Yeah, and they make there's so many regulations you can't open up your own business.
And that's why Trump got rid of all of them to bring it all back. Don't you? If you care about emissions, and also if you care about plastics in the ocean, because there's 8 rivers in the world that are carrying plastic into the ocean. There are 6 rivers in China and 2 in Africa. The 2 in Africa, because China's moving their manufacturing, they're expanding it into Africa, and here also South America. So you would want all this stuff in a country that cares about pollution, that cares about poisons in the water, that cares about not putting plastics in the water. Though those masks, this disposable masks,
they're
killing wildlife all over the world because they're in the water, and marine life is dying on the shore. So they find that there's a mask in it because everybody's got to have a mask, which they're finding. I'm not sure if they work so well. It's God forbidden of the N95 mask. Those will kill the wildlife. Water, nothing will go through that. That'll kill the wildlife even faster. But it's like if you really when you look at this, and it's just like seeing them going to parties without masks, and telling us that we can't go to any parties, let alone party with a mask. It's the same thing. They're destroying the planet, and in the name of what? And they're telling us what we're doing is wrong, but what they're doing is right. And these solar panels are all being made in China. They say China's moving into Japan. Biden in the North China Sea, Biden sold to China. So they're expanding everything. And the idea is that Putin and Xi are going to start making their moves. We do know that the administration before Trump was good buddies with China. I mean, he sent all our manufacturing there. He sent all our medicines to China. We can't even have an aspirin or antibiotics.
Why would someone want to do business? Like, why would you do business with a communist country at all? And that's another thing.
I know. That's why.
So suddenly you're doing business with communist countries who don't believe in the same values you do.
And you say
politically,
that Trump is
they
the
hate
bad
you.
guy.
Would you do business with someone who hated you?
Yeah.
And then
but
these lockdown measures were copying China. Like, why are you copying your adversary?
And mass. They don't want to see us.
They don't want to see your face. It's an occult gesture.
You know that the CDC lowered the standards, like children by a certain age should have certain reading abilities, and because of COVID, children are not. We're going to have a whole generations of children, of people that are going to be like automatons that don't emotionally. There's going to be a disconnect, kind of like in autism. They say someone who's autistic doesn't have empathy or certain.
Well, they do, but they can't process it the same way.
Right. It's different. But what it's more like is like a psychological disorder of some kind.
Well, they're taught wrong. They're not going to be thinking right,
because
or thinking freely or critically. And sorry, go ahead.
Well, what's happening is if you've got that mask on, and you have to, you're growing up having to distance yourself from people because those people could make you sick, or you could make them sick, and God forbid you're evil because you're white. Children don't even know what emotion is or love. You're going to grow up as a certain type of person. There is a certain personality disorder. I didn't even want to say it. It's a psychosis, right? It's a psychosis where you can't emotionally connect with people. You're making everyone a drone, but that's the ideal of communism. You are not an individual. You are a cell.
Right, it's group identity. Group identity politics and stuff
that's like right. That. And if you are sick cell or disabled or old, you get cut out. You don't have. You're useless. You serve no purpose for the state. Everything's for the state. So what better way to make armies of these people, of people like this, that identify as a cell, no individuality, and your whole purpose? It's kind of like North Korea. We don't, because this generation is kind of doesn't know much about Mao. That everyone in the country, the children go to school and they learn about the dear leader. That's all they learn about. The TV, the computer, everything is about the dear leader. There is nothing else but the dear leader. So you are no longer an individual, and there's concentration camps there too.
We have FEMA camps in Canada now.
Right, and if you don't cry, display sorrow when the dear leader dies, you're beaten up. It's
Wow.
you have no purpose as an individual under this type of it's communism.
Yeah, you're forced to worship a false god.
Yeah,
You're
and
forced
this
to
is
worship
what they're
a
creating.
false god. Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever this group can go wild and commit every crime possible. But if you look the wrong way, you're going to be thrown in jail forever. You're going to be killed. You're going to be everybody's going to hate you because you're evil. You are a white supremacist. You're a race. You're all these things. You're the vermin.
They're teaching critical race theory in the schools, and if nobody stops it, it's just going to roll over. It's going to roll in. It's just going to roll in if nobody. The only thing for evil to happen takes people not standing up or not talking or not pointing it out. And there's been a huge.
Say nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've seen.
Andrew Burke.
Oh, I had it a second ago. What I've seen. You know what? I can't remember what I was saying. I'm so sorry. I had a good point. Maybe it'll come back later.
Yeah. I think JFK said it. I went all the way back. Who said that statement first? The one, for evil to persist is for good men to say nothing. And I went all the way back to the beginning, and it was said differently than we know it now. But it's I think it's been phrased, and it's actually better than the way it was originally said. But it was a long time ago, and I forget the name of the person who originally said that. But they are with this particular pandemic that will never end, and they've told us more is going to come. Remember when Fauci said that was when the next one comes.
Dr. Bill Gates said so too.
This is a couple years ago. I guess Gates has said it recently. A couple years ago, I thought to myself, did anybody catch it? It seems like nobody caught that. I go, how does he know that there's going to be another one coming? How does he know? I mean, what if we had a pandemic that necessitated lockdowns? I mean, the Black Plague, the bubonic.
Well,
this is nothing like it.
If you look at the plague handbook, I forget what it's actually called, but it basically says do nothing and be and accommodate. It doesn't say lock down everybody. It doesn't say anything of the sort. It's just, well, I think it should be obvious by the discourse of the people and the politicians that this is not about a disease or the welfare of the people. This is about power and control. That's what it is. So I don't know how to stop it, but let's call it for what it is. Oh, that's what I was going to say. As people have been more and more brainwashed, people are less and less willing to call out evil. I don't think they even recognize what evil is. It's a departure from the natural order of things, and we're so far removed from it, we don't even recognize what the natural order is, most of us. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is a time for people to dig deep, because this is not a war about bullets, although bullets will be used. It's a war about principalities and what your values are, and your values. What do you value? Sit and figure out what it is you value. And don't be afraid. Instead of labeling evil like it's like not all psychos are evil, but there's an evil element to it. If you're not compassionate to your fellow man or woman, or if you don't like children, I mean, there's one thing to not want children, but if you really dislike children, that's something kind of weird. Like, I just wish people would. Yeah, if you call out evil. That's all I'm saying. Call out evil.
Want us to have children. They don't.
That's okay.
Of course, there's too many of us in the world.
That's baloney.
They've made us dependent on Russia. Putin, who was the evil guy, who we know he didn't do anything. What they said he did, he didn't have Trump. A total lie. The fact that they're getting away with all these lies, and if Trump did that to Hillary, spied on her campaign,
it was a noise.
Demonized the people who voted for her, though she even blamed her voters. There's just no way, and that we see it. We know that. They hate us. They absolutely hate us.
The people in charge hate us.
Yeah, by making us depend. It doesn't make any sense. The world runs on fossil fuel, yet they made us dependent on Putin, the guy who they told us fixed the election. Why would you do that? It's a total mind fuck. That's what they've done to us, and that you've got celebrities that are fighting so hard to destroy even more of the freedoms that we have, to hate us. They're not jokes anymore. It's just hating us. It's like, do they have their balls in a vice? Do they know that if they don't go along with this, just goose step along, that they're going to be destroyed? I don't doubt it. I don't doubt that they've said that they will destroy their whole career if they don't go along with this. But it makes no sense to be dependent on Russian oil. And I hear Russian oil isn't even refined. It's very dirty oil. Instead of oil from here that's clean, we get, our country runs better. The poor people can afford food and housing.
Yeah, it changes the economy, right? It adds value to your dollar.
Yeah, the bottom line of all this is the World Economic Forum. And there was a clip that I heard the other day of Klaus Schwab saying that Trudeau was one of the, he taught Trudeau.
And him and over half his cabinet.
Everybody,
has been infiltrated. I saw that. And here's some research for you. I'm not very good at it, but check out the UN/forum treaty or agreement of some kind. There's a UN forum agreement where the United Nations is in agreement with the World Economic Forum on some things. So,
which is
it's
all
a big
the
picture.
Leaders are buying into this, and I think Trump was the only one that wasn't. They had to get rid of him. He's the only one that wasn't.
He's not associated with the World Economic Forum.
No, he was.
The countries in Europe that were free,
all of us to be prosperous.
Yeah. The European countries that didn't go into lockdown were not part of the forum.
Right, and so essentially, what they're doing is with gas prices and fuel prices skyrocketing, and everything skyrocketing, people will not be able to afford their homes. So this Blackstone operation, which is a bunch of very wealthy investors, and it's connected
Vanguard
to
Blackstone,
the World Economic Forum, are buying whole neighborhoods from underneath us. You will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what this is about.
What does happiness look like?
They're doing this via shutting the pipeline off, making us dependent on foreign oil. Oil prices, gas prices skyrocketing. Everything is skyrocketing. And that's how they're going to do it. People will just literally have to leave their homes. They won't be able to afford, really, it's going to be a world of renters. And we're not going to be happy, but this is how they're doing it.
Everything's being turned into subscription service.
Via fuel, via gas. And here we have it. We've got more than enough. Back in, this is basically what I wanted to start the show off with. Back in the 70s, when Jimmy Carter was in office, they told us that oil was going to run out. It's fine.
I remember that.
And and then he said that he changed the speed limit from 65 to 55. You can't drive faster than 55. Sammy Hagar wrote that song, I Can't Drive 55. It's about that. And then if you had a car, it was by your license plate. You couldn't buy gasoline. It's either if your license plate number ends with a even number or odd number, one day you couldn't buy gas if it's the odd number and you had an even number on your license plate, you could buy gas. So there was long lines to the gas pump, and they told us that the world was running out of gas. They were jacking the prices of gas up. They keep telling us that the fuel companies are evil, but
they're in bed with the fucking government.
Because they've gotten us to hate fuel companies, and then they brought the whole climate change on us and green energy, which uses more fossil fuels. And puts more poisons into the environment, and it's to create lithium batteries. I mean, they dig the earth until the earth looks like a Grand Canyon.
It's terrible.
They're destroying it, and you need fossil fuels to extract the minerals out to create the lithium batteries. And to create one lithium battery, it lets go more carbon emissions than a fossil fueled engine.
It's true.
In 8 years, and then when it's done, it's poisonous.
The life cycle of a panel.
But you don't want nuclear energy. God forbid you put that in the earth. But all these, we used to have seas that we could look at out of the ocean. We used to have mountains and forests. We used to have deserts. Even there's beauty even in deserts. They're covering the deserts with these solar panels made in China and made by child slave labor. To make them, you need fossil fuels because they don't generate enough energy to make one. Neither do the wind turbines.
Right. They're not cost effective.
Right. And they're intermittent, which means the electric company has to keep jacking the electricity up all day long, because once the wind isn't blowing or the sun is out, and then you use more fossil fuels. It's a lie. It is such a lie. And this
one lie after another.
This is whatever's. I don't know what Jimmy Dore is saying is true, and it's true. I do remember when Obama took down the democratically elected president of Ukraine, and they're saying that Russia's bad because they're overthrowing ISIS. But the bottom line on all this is we're going to go to war. We could go to war. He's already sent troops over, and so you will lower more of the population. I've seen that it's censored and it's considered misinformation if you say that anybody was left in Afghanistan. If Americans were left in Afghanistan, I had something.
That's misinformation now.
I had something up on a certain social media site about the animals, the dogs and cats that were left behind. That was taken down because that's misinformation. And
so no cats or dogs were left behind. That's crazy. Yeah. Of course they were.
Of course they don't even care. PETA was demanding that Fauci be fired because of what he did with the beagles. And I wrote on social media, said, let's see how long PETA sticks to their ideals or how quickly they overrun by per order of their political party. Well, they dropped that. That lasted like a couple of days, asking Biden to fire Fauci. It's, my God, if we're ignoring, where's the uproar for this? We're cutting the vocal cords of the puppies and shoving their heads in the things so starving sandflies can eat their face off and burrow into their brains. It's like, and then shooting puppies in Australia because they didn't want anybody to come to the shelter and pick them up. The people who work there wanted to bring them home.
Yeah, they had homes. They would have had homes.
But this, and then you look on the web, and things will say that the thing about the dog puppies is true, and some will say no, it's not true. It is true. We know it's true, but there's disinformation on the web, and they're saying that we're putting out the disinformation. I just say that.
Well, they always do that. They always scream in pain before they strike, so to speak. It's like everything bad that I'm doing in secret or harboring in my heart, I'm going to accuse my adversary first and gaslight the fuck out of them, and then say a lie. Say, if you're gonna lie, make it big, make it loud. That was Hitler, and it's good advice for the Democrats. Good advice for anybody, really. You know what? Who cares what the truth is? Just lie big and loud.
If you think you are working for them and that you're in good stead, you're a little peon, or even if you are wealthy. I look at these politicians that are running with this, and saying, you can't have too many leaders. You're doing their bidding, but just like Mao, you have to bring order back. And he either the Red Guard some of them were killed by firing squad, and the rest of them were sent to the country, which was very cold, hard conditions. Not like we think of the country.
Yeah, it's not the country.
The beautiful country.
It's the country.
For hard labor, and they all died. They have to bring order back. So all these people who think that they're on the winning side and they're going to be okay, they're changing humanity into basically robots, clones, cells that have no purpose and have no identity, destroying generations of children that won't be able to be empathetic with other people.
Right. I mean, how do you bring that back? How do you bring that back? You know what I mean?
Take this pain any longer. So you get to a point where you die inside. These people, so when you get old, these people who are a part of taking this down, when you get old, they're not going to take care of you. These people, who is going to take care of you? These people who, with the rioters that they bailed out, you want those kind of people taking care of you? Generations of people, children that grew up to have no empathy, no feeling. Is this the world you want to live in? Are these the leaders you want to?
The leaders of tomorrow.
But the leaders of how, if they treat a segment of society badly, and you think if that whole segment of society will get killed, but you'll be okay. Do you think, even if they kill all of us off, do you think that the people who will be above you are going to be fair to you and good to you? Are you going to have is there going to be
an endless thirst for murder
ringing out?
Endless thirst for murder. These
people, I just like, what are you thinking by what's called hitching your wagon to that star? What are you thinking when people were censoring truth? You're censoring the truth. That in the end you're going to be treated well. They're not going to take you out because you either destroyed someone's business, beat them up, censored them, turn them into vermin, sent them to jail. These people who made you do these horrific things because you think that if you get rid of this segment of society, all you people, you care about people, you care about the minorities, you care about the poor because you have so much compassion. You can't have the two. You can't have the two. You can't treat people violently and cruelly and take away their humanity. And then you and your leaders are going to treat everybody who's left just warm and peaceful and happy, and you're going to be
cupcakes
free.
And candies.
No,
it's not going to happen that way.
I warn you, anybody.
Well, history's repeating itself. Yeah.
This is what's going on, but this is the way that it's not exactly World War III. But what it is it's going to be a different kind of war because of the fuel supply being too expensive. And then everything, food, living, just to be alive.
Well, it's not. I don't think we can rightly call it a war. It's more like a slow extermination. But it is happening, and Putin called it the asymmetric war. It's not guns and bullets. It's starvation, media, exploitation, and misinformation. It's all that's why I keep going back to it, just to be able to clear your mind and try to ignore your thoughts, like monitor the thinking, but from a higher position, because there's too much information to filter. I don't think the average person has the time to do it.
We have no control, but this is the way the World Economic Forum is going to own everything, and we will own nothing, and we're going to be happy. We're not going to be happy. We won't even be here. But this is how, because it's their world. It's their world.
Well, it's run by Satan, you know. It's the devil's playground.
And the thing is, you look at, of course, Prince Charles, there's fits. He says that if you don't, anybody who isn't saving the whole green energy stuff, the military should be policing the streets to stop them or get rid of them.
Wow, that'll save emissions.
He's your next king. And you will read in books about they're vilifying Diana and they're promoting Camilla, how great she is, how she can calm him down when he throws a fit. There's the king you want on the throne. There's the king. Well, they're even lying
he needs
about
a nursemaid.
The
king needs a nursemaid. Great.
I've noticed that there's a barrage of lies that are coming out about Diana. Oh, she cheated before him. No, he had a mistress and he just continued. And she knew he'd never be faithful. It was breaking her heart. And that Camilla got married because they forced her husband, Andrew Parker Bowles, to marry Camilla. They forced her. But all these years, I've been hearing that Charles told her that he was going to go to sea for a year and to not wait for him. And they say, oh, it's because she slept with other men before him and they wanted a virgin. Well, that came from Lord Mountbatten, his uncle. His uncle, Lord Mountbatten, said to him that you should find a virgin. And that was his idea. So all these, they're changing history. And they're vilifying. They're totally raking Diana over the coals. I mean, come on, she was 19 years old. She had no idea that this was. She had no idea. He thought he was going to be faithful. I mean, come on. He's head of the church. He should be faithful. I mean, it's like, come on. But there's history is being rewritten, and this is the guy who's going to be king, and the queen doesn't look like she's doing too well. This is in England, the
swan?
Swans are all owned by the queen, and if you kill a swan, it's treason. And they decapitated a couple swans. Like a few weeks ago, they haven't caught the guy who decapitated the swan. So I'm wearing this in solidarity to the swans and to the queen because she's not doing very well. But because he's in bed with the World Economic Forum, Charles is. We know that. That's out in the open. And so he wants lower the population, and because they know better what to do with the land that we own or our stuff than we do. Because it's because
they're so much smarter than Pepper.
When you have that much wealth and the royal family, the wealth is right out there. It's unbelievable what they have.
They invent money.
And you have that much power, and the idea that you've been told that God picked you for this role. You are going to be king because God wanted that. That is that absolute power thing. That's a kind of power that if you don't have your head on straight, you will make you a tyrannical leader. And then I read up on William, and he's also connected to the World Economic Forum. He brought his minds or heads together thing in front of the World Economic Forum, and everything that he said was good because it was about issues, emotional issues, mental problems, and how to help people be more open about this and help people. But he's still connected to it. Like, putting those two together don't make any sense. But also he went, was it a month before Harry got engaged to Meghan Markle?
Whoever he got engaged to,
he went to Africa and said that the world is too populated and we need to lower the population of the world, and we're starting with Africa. And I go, well,
not
maybe
China.
This is, so that means, technically it means when you say that to people, there's too many of you. So a great deal of you shouldn't even be alive. In other words, that's what you're saying. These people who are existing, that are living, shouldn't be alive. And you're telling them that they're going to start with Africa. And I have no idea why that Harry and Meghan's so smart. Why didn't you use that? Why, instead of using what could be proven wrong, it was obviously a lie, because she said, there's conversations and concerns, like many of them, about what color skin Archie would be. And then Harry comes in and he says, they asked him about, because he heard it and told her. And he said, oh yeah, before we were married, when I first started dating her, there was some who wondered what the child might look like, which, is like, they
should look like the parents.
And the people want to know what the kid were. Probably they're saying, you know what, this is good. The child might not come out as a pasty white ginger like his father. Mm-hmm. It's like, people kind of get excited about that. And it would be good for the royal family. It just, and apparently it was said by somebody, but they said it wasn't the Queen or Philip, heck knows. And they had to have that thing as he was dying. But it's like, why didn't you, and I'm thinking to myself, why is it did she not use what William said? Because if William isn't king, it means Harry will be king, right? If you knock William out, or that you would have to figure out a way how to knock his kid, but his kids are too young, so Harry can take over and then just kind of do a Richard III. And we think that Richard III. We put the kids in the tower. We're actually there's evidence coming out now. The two princes in the tower might not have been killed. They were put in the country, and there's evidence coming
the whole Man in the Iron Mask business,
taking the crown away from the children. But the only reason why I think that she didn't use that is because they're in bed with this too. They're in bed with the whole climate change thing. And the climate change thing is all connected to the World Economic Forum, is all connected with the pandemic. We weren't buying global warming anymore, so they gave us the pandemic. And I said that right in the beginning, except that particular video is on private. I put most of my videos on private, which erased all the comments. I didn't know that was going to happen. But they were taking my video down. And I said that we weren't buying. And it's interesting that people who are way smarter than me and have a lot more subs, which is everybody, are saying the same thing. But I said that right in the beginning, right at the get-go of this thing. I saw right through it.
What did you say?
And so she's into all this, because if you're not on the bandwagon of the World Economic Forum, up there with all the world leaders, and the other world leaders have to accept you, otherwise you're no longer going to be a leader. See Trump. It's all about power. they know that they.
Well, that's what happens when you raise Marxists. Like, it starts. Oh, it's been so many years of putting a little bit of communism, drip by drip by drip, little drops of poison over the past 50 years, and you get these half-wits in schools teaching various forms of Marxism through feminism, Black Lives Matter, and all these other hate groups.
Did you see what's happening with Black Lives Matter now, though?
No, what happened?
Very interesting happening. They don't know where they got their millions from or where the millions disappeared.
What, China?
They're actually starting to come down on them and say it could be turning now.
Okay.
What Mao had to do with the Red Guard. You do the violence, but we can't have any more violence because that's not. You have to bring order back. But they are going to. I don't mean to cut you off. I hope it is.
Oh, I was running out of steam anyway.
It's kind of. We're kind of like it could be that, but they know that a lot of people are going to die. I mean, with the prices going up, I looked at them. Okay, What am I going to do? First, it was the dish detergent. It was $10.25 for 4, and now it's $14.25 for 4. And then I saw with the treats, they were $4.49 a bag. Now they're $8.49 a bag. And then even if I make it, the cost of everything is so high. I'm going to try to make it, but I think the ingredients is everything's going to be. It's not going to make any difference.
I've been noticing that.
Survive. But
I've been noticing that my grocery costs are getting to be the same as my eating out costs.
Yeah, well, it's like this morning I hear that the gasoline is going to skyrocket again. I mean, again. And
what is it? What is it a gallon? How much is a gallon where you are?
How much is of gasoline?
Yeah.
I guess it's closer to $4 a gallon. I think it's $6 in California.
Because I just did the conversion. Well, not just now, but earlier in our conversation, I did the conversion. I'm paying. Where is it here? I'm paying $7.08 per gallon in Canada.
Oh wow! But I'm kidding. Yeah. So, but he's Trudeau. It seems like he was on the fast track to. Of course, he was in office. Trump was in office the first year of this pandemic. But that's how they're going to do it. This is what it is. And I'm wondering, people coming over the border, they say it's coming from all different countries in the world. And I knew this before because it's called the Center for Immigration Studies. That we have a place in Panama and Costa Rica right on the border there that people come in from the Middle East, Asia, and they come through there. They get to this country and they drop their passports, their fake passports. They drop them in the forest, and then they pick them up. Our agents are down there and pick these people up, and they use biometric identification. So when they get to the border, we know who they are. But then they will be dropped off in Nicaragua, and then the drug mules pick them up and bring them to the border. And these people are coming here and say, "Oh, these people are homeless or poor, and they want to make a better way of life." Well, none of the people coming over the border are homeless, but we have homeless all over this country, and we're going to have more homeless.
Yeah.
You're American,
very displaced.
To die on the street, to be born in America, die on the streets of America. These people have to have $50,000 to come here, $10,000 to get whoever it is that's bringing them to Panama and Costa Rica, and then they pay the drug mules $40,000 to bring them to the border. These are not poor people. Don't
No.
know who they are, but they're not poor people. They say, I heard a report that it's a matter from the people who are our agents at the border, that people who have already been affiliated with terrorism or have been arrested for terrorism are coming in, and it's only a matter of time that another 9/11 is going to happen. But that will,
Well,
there's too many
yeah.
people in this country. There's just too many. So this
You're
is
gonna
how
have
they
to starve the good ones.
You will commit suicide because you won't be able to afford anything. You'll be homeless on the street and die that way. You'll be vulnerable to people.
Yeah, the exposure.
You're one of them, and either weather exposure. That's true. People do die in 2 years. If you're on the street, you will die within 2 years because of weather exposure. But getting beaten up on the street and raped and all sorts of things. And the other thing Russia did when when communism took over, they would go into everyone's house and they would look at it to see how big the house was, how many rooms in that house. And they said, okay, you can have 10 people living here. So you have 10 strangers coming in and filling your house. What will what will happen then? They'll probably eat your food,
kids your food, your kids get raped.
I don't know these people. We hear that in South America they're emptying the prisons and they're coming straight here. So I'm wondering if they're emptying out South America of the criminals so the wealthy people can buy the coastline property. El Salvador has 2 coastlines. That would be fantastic real estate. So the way to do it is to get, and especially if you would get all the criminals to run to America. Not that all of them are criminals, I'm not saying that, but at the same time, these people, they say, oh, it's better life in America. Look, you're not homeless. We have homeless. We have poor. And who's going to pay for you is us. We don't have it.
Well,
we have money. And so it's like, for you literally coming into our house, we're going to have to pay for you. So even though you might hate us because we're Americans, you're coming here and it's like you're expecting. Now, well, if I walked into your house and I started doing lots of laundry and taking showers, your mother would be pissed, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
You'd say, we can't afford this water, right?
I know. It's like China's made of water.
It's but I hear in it was announced in California that they're telling people to bring in the homeless, who you don't know who they are.
Man, that's funny. I'd make jokes about that, right? Like, I was comparing these people were saying how essential it is to bring immigrants into the country. And I'm like, do you want to bring a homeless person? And I'm not saying they're evil, but do you want a homeless person living with you? Well, their homeless habits. The answer is probably no, right? And that's how I feel about rampant immigration.
Are drug addicts. A lot of them have mental issues, but soon we're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
You should have brought the homeless people in, or the people who are coming over the border. They need houses, don't they? So
they can go back.
It could very easily happen. In fact, it was several years ago. They announced where I live that if you bring in these people who are coming in over the border into your house, that they'll pay you. You'll get money for it. So they've already started this program.
Great.
Also, no more affordable housing. You can't get affordable housing anymore because it goes to the undocumented migrants and the people who are considered refugees.
Yeah.
So you're poor in America. Doesn't matter if you're African American, because I've heard African Americans being quite upset about this, not being able to get. First, it went from 2 years. It was originally 2 years. Then it went up to 10. Now it's indefinite, which means never, because the border is open and at least 3 million have come in. Where are you going to put them? And if they
That's
are
stunning.
men between 18 and 34, are these people that you're going to use either to enforce law or in the army for the war you're going to hold? Either a war or they're going to use them to enforce laws in this country.
Yeah, they don't have loyalties to the local people.
Right, absolutely. And well, Obama said that, which most people didn't catch. He said that we should have a civilian security force that's just as armed and just as well funded as the military. Wait a second, we have the police. What are you talking about?
We haven't got the police.
It's coming in.
Let's fix this at the root. The nuclear family's destroyed. Put fathers back in the homes. Fathers who give a shit and keep order in the home. Teach kids fairness. Teach kids what fathers teach. Most of the time they're pretty good. My dad had some problems, but that's a long story. But build back the family unit, and a lot of these problems will go away. Wholesome.
They don't want the family. I know. It's
I know. They don't. They don't want good families anymore.
Right. We had a Führer that before he was even in office, he brought manufacturing back to this country. He went to the companies that don't leave. If you leave, I will give you a tax incentive. I would stay. And he brought.
I remember that.
Brought manufacturing back and prevented other companies from leaving.
Yeah, he made phone calls himself. He called people up.
Opportunity zones in inner cities to try to and funded minority schooling all the way up to college. That way, there was more minorities employed and women under Trump than any president in history. All time high. And so you would have, what would happen is, you would have intact families. You wouldn't have kids doing drugs, and then joining gangs and a huge number of white people are dying of drugs too. White and black and
oh my God.
Like you don't.
Oh my God, it's horrific.
Or dying from like every weekend it's a massacre in Chicago and in these inner cities. And the Democrats who care about the minorities and get their vote don't care. They're not doing anything. And, I remember hearing after the last election that, of course, when Hillary ran, that's when, election tampering happened. Definitely not in 2020. Not now, boy, Biden earned that 81 million votes. He earned it.
Because corpses are so popular.
But they had, they were, in a way, they were right that male white supremacists, voted for Trump in 2016. And the reason why we know that that's right is because in 2020, he got more minorities voting for him than any Republican president in history.
Wow.
And the vote that he lost that went to Biden were white men. So apparently these white men maybe thought he was a white supremacist, and they were so pissed they went to Biden. They know that's the party. That's the party of this.
That's the party of it. Yeah.
So, how can you possibly, after he showed you when he was in office what he did to help minorities? But he also was given. It's like he was given an award that they gave to Rosa Parks and Muhammad Ali, and the same award for hiring and promoting more minorities and women than any business owner in history. And this has been long enough. There's a whole list of things that he has done through his life not trying to run for president, just being a businessman to help minorities and poor people. It's unbelievable, and not one of these politicians has ever done. What they do is they get together like they did for Haiti. George Bush and Bill Clinton got together and asked us to send money to them for Haiti. And as it turned out, Haiti never got the money. I mean, the Haitians are coming over here now, and they're really pissed off, and they do not like the Clintons, they do not like Hillary Clinton, do not like, because they took the money. They never got the money. And the people, they say there's people still living outdoors from the, was it the earthquake?
Disaster. Something bad happened. I don't remember anymore.
That's what these people do. They get together, they form a charity, and they ask us to send them money. He didn't do that. He just took care of people and gave them his own money directly, tax-free. You give it to them. And helped, by giving jobs to minorities. It's, and there's Jennifer, I think her name was Jennifer Hudson. Her family, her brother-in-law killed her nephew, who was like 9, and some other family members shot them to death. And he went many years before he ran for president. And he went to her and the rest of her family and said, all of you come to, he had a Trump resort. Come to my resort and stay there as long as you like. You can eat as much as you want. You can live there as long as you want. Anything you want, I'll give it to you. And Jennifer Hudson and her family are Black. This is long before he ran for president.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know this. I don't know them.
They said to Jennifer Hudson, why won't you come out against Trump? And she said, I can't. I can't. It's like, how generous can you possibly, and he's done many things like that. And everybody still calls him that he's greedy, he's out for himself. He's,
I know. I hear it all over the place here. We got Trump derangement syndrome happens in Canada too.
It's just absolutely, and Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, they gave him that award, the same award they gave to Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks. They know he's not like that. That's why they gave him the award. And Jesse Jackson asked Trump before the award ceremony, the Rainbow Coalition, to promote diversity, needs a building. Could you find us a good, a good building that doesn't cost too much? And Trump held up the keys. I found you that building, and I bought it for you. Where was Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton? Where were they? They went and they hid behind the Democrats. They know what he has done for people. And he'd go to the bank in the morning and gets a roll of $100 bills. If he sees anybody working really hard, doing a good job, he goes, here, take it. You're doing a great job. He's done that his whole life.
Yeah.
And that way, he goes, you don't have to pay taxes on it. He pays taxes. Mm-hmm. And he met a bunch of people. The camera was still running. And I forget what he went, because he went to talk to like this town people. Some kind of disaster had happened. And he goes, come here. And he was signing his name on a piece of paper. He goes, take this, sell it on eBay, you'll get $10,000. He was handing these things out, just thinking of ways to help these people get money, because they're not doing so well. But he came there as president to fix the situation and help them out. Also,
well, I was very curious. I was very curious how it would go. Like if he stayed in power, I was very curious the kind of America that would come from that. As a Canadian watching, it's like, wow, this guy was on fire. Yeah. Michelle, Felina, I got it. I'm falling asleep.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's true. It's longer.
I have no easy way of telling.
I was going to bring
no easy way of saying.
Robert Fried on and whatchamacallit, and rob deflating atheism.
How much
Like
of a
after,
color?
like kind of like late, like get some things out. And you need it to be said.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I have a lot of people on, I lose track.
Oh, it's easy
If
to
I'm
lose the
by
thread. Yeah, for
myself
sure.
and I'm just blah blah blah, I will get right to it. But some reason, and to help my asthma, I've been drinking a little wine here. But because my asthma is so bad, and so I wasn't sharp. I wasn't sharp on this show, so I hope people forgive me.
Oh, we got a little sidetracked here and there, but I think all in all it was good.
So it figured like after like an hour or so we would bring them on, but they're not. I don't see them in the comments anymore. So yeah, are you if they're out there? I doubt they're out there.
Yeah.
That's the link. I doubt they're out there. I'm sure Robert Fried, he's like a historian. I'm sure there's a lot of things he would say about what's going on. But
be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, I would get completely lost. I like everything I wanted to say, which is basically the bottom line of this whole thing is the World Economic Forum is how they're going to use by getting our everything from Putin and now going to war with Putin, shutting off our energy supplies.
Yeah.
That I'm here sick. You may be sick. You're sick?
Oh.
Deflating atheism. That's how they're going to do it. Is that prices will go through the roof. We won't be able to afford where we're living, or even wherever we're living. Even the job, we'll be losing our job because if you lose your home, you can't afford gasoline to get to the job. People will be completely on the street, and this is how they're doing it. It's like you have more than enough to heat homes. I mean, England is no longer using coal, though you can burn coal clean. There's no emissions at all. They're cutting down primeval forests in Siberia to heat their homes. It's like we went from you can't use paper bags anymore at the grocery store. Use the plastic bags because we're cutting down trees. Can't do that. And then the plastic bags. Plastic's bad. We're not the ones putting it into the ocean, okay?
Yeah.
You got to buy these bags from the country that's putting the plastic in the ocean that uses lead paint. And you can't recycle these, and you can't wash them so they start to disintegrate. You can't recycle them either. They all go into a landfill. So what this does is China makes money, and also all those garbage bag companies that were losing money because people were using the plastic bags for their garbage.
Yeah.
What they do is they completely, they're absolutely manipulating us in every way possible. And what do we think? We've been bad. We've been using too many paper bags. We've been using the plastic bags. No, we've been breathing. You were making everyone sick. The fossil fuel. It's like everything.
Yeah, it's one thing after another.
And it's like they're flying around on their private jets. Al Gore doesn't have any solar panels, neither, and he leaves his limousine running with the air conditioning on while he's in making a speech. He doesn't.
Well, you wouldn't want me to a hot room.
It's like, but
heaven forbid.
Absolutely, they're all hypocrites, and then they make us feel guilty. We have to pay more. We have to do as they say. And if you don't, you're vermin, you're evil, you're deplorable, you're a climate denier. Oh my God, I didn't think there was a climate. And that's all they do is piss on the poor people. We're just barely trying to eke out a living. We're just looking for little bits of happiness in life because life is short. It's like, why are you doing this to us? Because you've got the money and the power, and we're using up all your air and all your land. If there was less of us, there'd be less landfills. But it's like,
Well, power
Carbon,
corrupts.
you know that the world, before they built that machine in Iceland that's sucking the carbon out of the air, and then they give the carbon to farmers, and so to certain farmers, not everyone, so you can no longer grab the carbon out of the air, for your plants and stuff. The earth was getting greener because of what China was doing, building all these coal fires in India. The earth was actually getting greener.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is that because carbon, fertilizer is made out of fossil fuels, out of petrol, and that's how you fertilize. It's carbon. The reason why there's energy when when you burn fossil fuels is because that's stored carbon that the plants breathed in when they were alive.
Okay. I'd have to look into it. But yeah, if you say so, then
nothing wrong with it. I mean, you just plant more trees. You green the desert. You can turn the desert green.
Oh yeah, it's a very good project.
All you have to, if you think there's too much carbon, then there'll be more oxygen. People have no idea. They say, "Oh yeah, carbon. Oh, can you imagine? Nothing can breathe in this world. There's too much carbon." Right? You don't realize
get more trees out.
Plants are dependent on carbon.
Yeah, trees, grasses, shrubs, ferns, marshes, all that stuff.
Everything is carbon. That's why there's a carbon-14 test to find out how old something is, because everything except for rocks is carbon. We're carbon-based life. There's no net zero. It's such bullshit. Excuse my friend. And there's France that's running on nuclear. Why can't we have nuclear energy? Apparently they're not having a problem with it. They figured out a way to not have some kind of. They're all afraid that it's going to break open.
Oh well, the CANDU reactors are quite safe. Last I heard.
Yeah,
that could be my information could be obsolete, but
we have to. But we've got fruitcakes because somebody told the lefties that all nuclear it's all going to just break open and there's going to be nuclear waste everywhere. Not if you build it right. Not if you contain it right. Not if France of all countries. France has been living on it for years. If you don't want fossil fuels, which is not whatever,
you have to compromise somewhere.
We're not. I mean, the plants need the carbon, but let's forget about the plants. Maybe the world would be a better place if there were no plants. Huh? Maybe that's what they want. No plants. I don't know. I don't know, Jack. Robert Freed wants to come in the stream here.
Okay.
This is
all right.
Robert Freed. He's half Comanche. He's got an adorable cat.
Oh, hi. Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
Hey, how's it going?
I can't stay too long because I got work in about an hour and a half. So,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the shit has really hit the fan right now.
Yeah. So give us your take
on the Ukraine situation.
On everything.
Okay, I gotta jack out. Okay, you guys enjoy the conversation.
Goodbye, Adrian.
You guys have a great night. Nice to meet you, Robert. You take care.
Peace. Is anyone else coming on or?
I don't know. I think Rob said that he was sick. I'm here sick. I guess that must mean he's sick.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, I've been following this Ukraine situation. Oh my gosh, I didn't think they were going to go full on out. I thought maybe at the very most they would just take like those two regions, Luhansk and Donetsk, People's Republics, quote unquote. Didn't think they were going all out.
So it's full scale war.
It looks like that. It looks like it's full all on invasion because they're attacking from Crimea in the south, eastern Ukraine, and Belarus, which is a Russian client state.
So I heard that there's a section that's right next to Russia. That's the part that Putin wants. and those people speak Russian and they are fidelities or towards Russia?
That's
Do
the
you know anything
Donbas
about that?
region. Yeah, that's the Donbas and Luhansk regions that have declared themselves people's republics.
Oh, I see. So that's what Putin wants to take?
Allegedly, but he might go all out. I mean, Putin's kind of a wild card right now.
Yeah. So, do you know anything about well, the Ukraine government itself? Is that a corrupt government?
Very corrupt, very corrupt. It's funny because what you're hearing from like the Max Boot types and the Bill Crystal types right now on Twitter is that Russia is threatened by Ukrainian democracy because it could show what Russia could be as a liberal democracy. But I mean, the current guy Zelensky, he basically just jailed his top opponent right now.
So, why are we getting involved in this?
Well, that's the question if we are or not. I mean, and how are we going to get involved? I don't see us getting actually like sending troops to go against Russian troops in Ukraine. This could potentially be something like what happened in Syria in the 2010s or Afghanistan in the 1980s, where we prop up so-called freedom fighters against the Russians. That's what
Oh, I
happened in
see.
both Ukraine and Afghanistan. Yeah, and
But
oh, good.
if we are getting our oil from Russia, and then Europe is dependent on this oil, it kind of doesn't make any sense that we would fight, be on the opposite side, because now we've made ourselves, the world is dependent on Russian oil. It doesn't seem to
Not
make
just
any
Russian
sense
oil, but
at all.
natural gas too.
Oh, and natural gas, and we've got loads of it under our feet. We've got more than enough, and it burns. Oh, because of fossil fuels, and we're supposed to be off fossil fuel, but we're buying fossil fuel from the guy who took the presidency away from Hillary. It's so crazy. It makes no sense at all to me.
Not to mention, we get a lot of like agriculture products from like fertilizer from Russia. I didn't know that. We purchased something like $700 million worth or billion, I forget, but it was like
Well,
rather
we
large.
wouldn't have to if we used our own petrol. It's made out of petrol.
Yeah,
It's just because,
but yeah, it's just crazy. I have a book in my home at my house called Natural Gas as an Instrument of Russian State Power. It's a book from 2015, and it talks about the potential of Russia posing a threat that what the Arab states did in the 70s, where they cut off oil supplies to the Western world, and that's what caused stagflation throughout the 1970s. And he argues that Russia could very much do that with their natural gas supplying to Europe, which
yeah,
we're already seeing the
we've
oil and
come
natural gas
dependent.
prices shoot through the roof. Yeah.
It's absolutely absurd. Just finish the pipeline, allow drilling, because the world runs on oil and people are going to starve. This is going to be, people around the world in third world countries are going to starve. They need, supplies. There's all sorts of things.
And then people in the global north,
What was that?
the developed countries are going to freeze their asses off in this winter, these coming winters, actually.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
we're going to do burn trees.
yeah, it's not looking good right now.
It's absolutely absurd. What did you say?
Sorry, I didn't. I was just trying to say that, yeah, it's just, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, I remember the Russian invasion of Georgia in 2008. I was in high school at that time, or junior high, transitioning to high school, and people were freaked out about that. But now it's like we're on a totally different playing field right now.
Yeah. It's like we're supposed to Jen Psaki. Did you hear that? Jen Psaki said, when somebody asked her, what now? It's like, we're supposed to be off of it? We're not. The world runs on it. We're not off of it. It's like we've done something wrong by living the way they told us to live. You know, it's evil. I mean, this is how they're going to get us to lose our homes, lose our jobs because you can't get to the jobs. this is what they're going to do. This is how the World Economic Forum is going to take over the world. And people are just going to die en masse from starvation, from exposure to the cold, from being pegged as a deplorable. You know, I can't believe it. I can believe it. You know, you totally expected this to happen. And here we are we're an oil rich nation. We got coal, we got natural gas, we got everything. We could be selling it to the world. The world is dependent on Putin. It's like, and he's evil. It just doesn't, it's so evil that they said when Trump was out of office, they say now the adults will be in charge. None of them know what they're doing. They asked Buttigieg.
I remember, I think was it Biden said that, you know, if Putin didn't want him as president because he would stand up to Russia. Well, what's going on right now? Yeah. I mean, there was no invasion of Ukraine during the Trump years. This is just insane.
Yeah, like Putin is going to be afraid of Biden or Harris.
No.
I
mean, the Putin government, they look at Joe Biden. They look at Joe Biden as a Boris Yeltsin-like figure. I don't know if you know who Boris Yeltsin was. He was Russia's goofy, drunk president in the 1990s when literally like 40% of Russian businesses were owned by the Russian mafia, and inflation went to craziness in Russia. Go ahead.
Apparently, I heard there was released conversation between Yeltsin and Clinton when Bill Clinton was in office. And Yeltsin said that Putin would be good to replace him. So apparently, I think the election was kind of rigged, you could say. But though, you know, I wouldn't put, you know, how could you put it past Russia to not? We assume all those elections are rigged. But I guess Clinton knew about it, and he was very friendly with Russia. So the whole idea of Putin working against Hillary is absurd. You know, it's people don't know how in bed these leaders are with each other. And the only one that wasn't in bed is the one that is no longer there, that should be there, because we would be having a war now. I'm not sure. Do you think that the people are... Part of me goes, just listening to this administration, I think she was the head of manufacturing. She's got blonde hair, short blonde hair. And somebody asked her a question about getting supplies out, and she just busted out laughing. I don't know. I was like, oh my God. And then you've got Buttigieg there. Buttigieg, I don't know. He apparently, they adopted 2 kids, and we've got the supply chain crisis. And he's just talking about being a father. He goes, I don't know. He doesn't know anything. He's not doing anything.
He's not going to be able to adopt any kids from Russia.
What's that?
He's not going to be able to adopt any kids from Russia.
I don't know where he got his kids from. But it's like nobody's doing any work.
And the LGBT Pride Parade is going to be canceled this year in Kiev if Russian tanks are rolling in.
Oh yeah, supposedly Putin is against that, and also she. I mean, isn't it amazing how Obama was supposed to be for the LGBTQ community. He was supposed to be for, but then he pushed all manufacturing by putting out 22,000 regulations and making it extremely costly to make anything in this country, where we had carbon emission regulations, pushed everything into China where they have no carbon emission regulations, and she is basically outlawed homosexuality, and Putin too. I remember the Human Rights Campaign was sending out petitions to send to Putin because of when they were going over there for their Olympics. there was going to be demonstrations or something like that. So he was one of the countries which they'll mention Putin, but there are other countries that push homosexuals off buildings or hang them. But we won't mention those countries. But he's supposed to be. Obama was for the gay community. It makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all. What's going on, and where people's allegiance lies doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see where this goes. I mean, I think this is going to cause a really serious reduction in living standards if this conflict continues, because everything's going to get a whole lot worse. Inflation's going to get a lot worse. The supply chain's going to get a lot worse. Oil and gas prices are already shooting through the roof. It's just insane. I mean, this was all going on before, and I don't like how they're trying to blame it all on Russia. But at the same time, all the stuff is going to worsen in the years to come.
Yeah, Trump had sanctions on the Nord Stream pipeline, but who were getting our fuel from America. I mean, our fuel, which was cheaper, cleaner, and we were selling it to Europe. I mean, that's why this wasn't happening. They say that every time the price of oil goes up, Putin goes in and annexes something from another country. He goes on the warpath because he's making all this money. Yeah,
I would. So I don't want to sound alarmist, but if I were in the cities, I'd get out.
Yeah.
Oh, in the months to come, I'd look to get out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Our big cities. Was it? My dog's got to go out. Did you want to talk for a while? Oh, you talk. I gotta put my dog out.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'll find something to talk about or ramble about.
Okay.
So I'm going to see about taking a look at the comments section here. This our winter of severe illness and death. That's true. I mean, especially in Europe, if Russia does do what the oil-rich Gulf states did in the 70s during the Yom Kippur War, and basically put us under an embargo, and as a response to the sanctions, this could get really out of hand, real bad, real fast. These past 2 years, it's been like Returning the Jedi. But if Darth Vader won, just unthinkable. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the whole situation, like these past 2 years have basically just felt like an extension of 2020. I mean, Peter Turchin, who is a historian who uses a lot of science to predict possible future events, he argues that the whole decade of the 2020s is going to be this chaotic. I recommend people look into his theory of history if you're interested. Time to buy 100 pounds of beans and rice. Yeah, I always recommend stocking up. I've been thinking about doing that, getting army supply rations and just keep them together. Let's see. Going up. I remember a year ago there were reports of Chinese troops doing drills in rural areas in Canada. That's interesting that it was reports of Chinese troops, Paul Rixlin. Considering the fact that China basically owns Canada with finance and economics. But I don't know, the world's getting to be a really strange place. Have you heard deflated atheism? Have you heard of the fourth turning in American history is defined by historic turning separated by approximately 80 years? In every instance, the good guys win. Yeah, I have heard of that. I have. I'm not too familiar with it, but I know it's on the same level like Peter Turchin and the way how he uses science and the rhyming of history to predict events. And as I said with Peter Turchin, he predicted that the whole decade of the 2020s is going to be really chaotic. But yeah, I believe the whole fourth turning, that was part of the it was a huge part of the Trump era, I remember. So yeah, it's fascinating stuff, I think. Let's see. Did you know Gillette razor blades are produced in Russia and in China? Wouldn't surprise me, considering the fact that those are both second world, almost third world countries, both. But didn't think that they would allow a woke corporation to do that. But I guess if they're just manufacturing the stuff, it doesn't matter about the fuck all with the messaging. Let's see. Three Stooges. Why no one help in Ukraine? Well, because we're all so war weary from 2 decades of nonsense fighting in the Middle East. I mean, I think the thing of it is that Putin now feels emboldened to take Ukraine because of that embarrassing. Gosh, do I even call it an evacuation? That embarrassing incident in Afghanistan that was the fall of Kabul. I think now Putin is rightfully looking at the U.S. empire as one in decline and one that's weirdly mirroring the fall of the Soviet Union. I mean, the Soviet Union faced many of the exact same issues that we're facing right now, an increasingly stagnant economy, ethnic groups that don't like each other and don't have anything in common with one another, an aging leadership. That's another thing that both the late stage U.S. and late stage USSR is facing. So yeah, there's that. Will Snapchat or Stripcat chat go out of business? Most their strip chat are from Ukraine. I mean, I guess so. I mean, I don't think we're gonna see any more of those Russian bride sites anymore. Rob deflating atheism. The left called Hong Kong pro-democracy protesters white supremacists because they carried Pepe the Frog signs. Everything is white supremacist these days. So, like, when the current power elite are actually supporting white supremacists in the form of the Azov battalion in Ukraine, no one fucking believes them anymore. Let's see. Read all the good comments, so let's see what's going on in the news right now.
So, what were you talking about?
Oh, I was just reading a lot of the comments out, so and responding to them.
Oh, that's good. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I did. You know.
Yeah, the conversation is like going, and I'm trying to remember things because I'm forgetting because like I said, I was drinking red wine. It usually helps my asthma when I feel like I'm having an asthma attack. It doesn't seem to be helping. I don't know why. I took all my medication, my asthma medication not working. So deflating atheism, you didn't want to come on? Chrissy's not gonna, you're not gonna answer. You don't want to come on, Rob? Okay. So you are thinking that this is as bad as it gets. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all intentional.
Yeah, I mean, the thing of it is that this isn't like when Russia attacked Georgia. Georgia was a small little like second world country, and at the time we didn't know where Russia was going. We didn't know if it was going to westernize or if it was going to continue to be revanchist. But now this really, I think, solidifies a revanchist Russia. So yeah, the Cold War is pretty much on the table now.
So yeah, but so we're letting it happen? I mean, we could be completely independent of it. They can take whatever they want as far as countries go, but they're not helping us. They're not helping the American people. They're not helping the citizens of the world, because everybody's dependent on Russian oil now. Why? Other than yeah, you will own nothing and you will be happy. These are huge steps. I think they're afraid that what happened in the last election might not happen again, the fortified election, because people, I think, because they're coming down so hard, even their people will say, we don't want any of this, so they're making it so there may not be another election. That's why they're doing everything that they possibly can. They're breaking everything that they possibly can, going scorched earth, so to speak, because this is their chance.
A lot of this does have to do with the geoeconomic situation. If you study World War II and the lead-ups to it, I mean, both Imperial Japan and Nazi Germany almost had to launch their wars of aggression, otherwise their economies would have essentially collapsed. And right now, both Russia under Putin and the Western world are facing severely stagnant economies. So, and the only really way out would be to launch some kind of conflict. But I don't know. That could be so. Yeah, it would be an end all life on Earth situation. They really go forward.
So, do you think Putin's designs, or actually, well, let's Xi as well? This is their way to take the world. Just literally walk into America and take it.
I don't think we're going to see Russian or Chinese troops in like San Francisco, but this is a way of solidifying that they're challenging that the Western-led world order is dead.
Yeah. So they're not. I kind of assume President Xi's been president of America for quite a while now. When Obama was in office, I actually felt that because we owed China so much money, and we are completely dependent on them. That's why after the pandemic started, Trump realized that all our medicine, antibiotics, everything is in China. We're completely dependent on China. So he went to India to try to get the manufacturing moved over to India because he knew he could trust India. But then,
India is a bit of a wild card because they do prefer the U.S. to China, but at the same time they've had historically good relations with Russia going all the way back to the Soviet era.
So they might side with Russia.
Yeah, because the Soviet Union came to the aid of India during the Sino-Indian War of 1962. And when the INC government, the Indian National Congress government, was in power, the Soviet Union was the major supplier of the Indian armed forces.
Well, if we sent all our manufacturing to India, then India would be making a tremendous amount of money. So that would be an incentive to be on our side. I mean, that's what he was planning on doing.
Yeah, but that was kind of the intention behind China too, that giving all this aid and all this manufacturing that China was going to, liberalize them and make them a democracy. And I think we see the fruits of that right now.
Yeah, okay. That was never going to happen. But India, it's possible. I would see that it would be at least that they would be friendly to us, and that it would also bring, if they made a lot of money, it would bring them up to a first world country if we gave them that much business.
It's hard to say, I mean, I'm always a bit of a pessimist, but I just wish that cooler heads would prevail.
Yeah, part of me goes, geez, you kind of, but this is exactly what they hoped that the Trump administration would do, that they would just give up and walk out. That you would think the Democrats would just say, this isn't going well. We're just going to walk out and let Trump take over. And if that's the case, then technically you ruined his first term. I mean, you with all these investigations, they knew it was a complete lie. They didn't do anything to help the American people. It was just to try to get Trump out. Basically, I think they owe us 4 years, and they owe us another 4 years and another 4 years. I mean, it's like, if you want him to take over, let him run for at least 8 more years to fix everything up. Why do you think, is there a reason, do you think, that all these politicians have jumped on the bandwagon of the World Economic Forum, climate change? We know that's bullshit. Why do you think so many leaders, they've indoctrinated so many leaders, the Democrat Party? What kind of psychosis has gone on around the world? Or did they get these people young enough so they could brainwash them? What happened?
A bit of all. I mean, we have this new generation of Zoomers who are coming to age, and if you look at priorities for Zoomers, half of them don't even know what gender they are, and they're concerned about climate change. Those are the top two issues for them: is gender confusion and climate change. But the thing of it is, they're also so. Go ahead.
The whole, everything that the Democrats are pushing all points to a decrease in the world population. They're for abortion. They're not for intact families, which grow big family. They're into drugs coming over the border, and it's people dying of drug overdoses, and suicide is skyrocketing.
The potential nuclear war is Russia.
It's all this death march. And also, when I was younger, we knew about people who transitioned to the sex that they believed that they were. And my mother explained it to me that they had to be an adult to make this decision, to know what they were doing. And they had to go through lots of counseling to know, because to do that big of a change, you have to be absolutely sure of it. And you definitely don't want to start when they're children and give them those puberty inhibitor drugs. But now, if we don't allow this, the child will be taken away from the parents. And if if you do this to a child when they're young like that, obviously they're not an adult to make this decision. And then you start giving them these puberty blockers. What it does is not only have you, there's nothing worse than when hormones goes off and kids can't even deal with their own hormones going off when they go into puberty. That they're basically pushing people to make this decision quickly. They support them like crazy when they want to change sexes, and they get the attention. And then when a lot of them are actually trying to change back, and the community totally turns their back on them, they're alone. If you want to change back, you're completely alone. So that would be, feeling abandoned might make someone commit suicide. There's a high suicide rate in the transgender community as it is. But also, when you encourage someone as a child who cannot make these decisions, they may be right, but when they're adult, they'll realize, okay, yes, that's what I wanted. You're basically destroying the ability to have children. They're pushing every single thing that destroys the ability to have children.
Yeah, there's always these newspapers that are promoting like childless lifestyles, and we're starting to see more and more of them promoting like singleness too. Just like, oh, you don't need a partner, let alone children. Just live as a totally atomized individual. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell? I mean, we see loneliness, anxiety, depression. It's all shooting through the roof because people aren't doing what, even from a purely biological standpoint, they're supposed to be doing, which is having families.
Yeah, it's basically, it's like it's a way to lower the population, but it's also a way to, if a person if they're pushed into doing making such a major change, and they really feel like they didn't want to do it, when they realize it was a mistake, that's so devastating. And I've heard these people being interviewed, and they said that it's only cosmetic, it's only superficial, and when I wanted to change back, I was completely abandoned. We've come to this, society has changed so much, that it used to be when children were harassed or badgered, or like white people are evil at birth just because of their skin. These kinds of things cause suicides, and there was a normalcy in society where they'd come to the aid of someone who was being villainized unfairly, just because we cared about suicide, we cared about people's their mental state. And now the whole push is to drive people insane, and drive them insane, give them psychosis, and drive them to suicide or to drugs, to die one way or the other. And to a striking blow. But it's such an evil way. It's like, we've understood wars, and people die in wars, but this is like a slower way to, not only, you're not just killing people, you're not just preventing births, you are taking their brains and you're just twisting them, or emotionally destroying them, emotionally destroying their identity. We're not allowed to be a certain identity or identify a certain way. It's like an evil, what do you call it, one of those Bond villains, or somebody that really wants to do the slow kill. Those who don't outright commit suicide, They will slowly destroy you. It's like somebody's out there who hates humanity so much that they're trying to kill us in every way possible, and making carbon emissions feeds plants. They need it. And this whole idea, these kids think that,
well, that's another
carbon
thing
is
that's
going
coming.
to kill all these plants.
That's another thing that's coming, is that there's going to be carbon emission taxes, and what is it? This is why they want to set up like a social credit system, because eventually they want to set up like carbon caps on even on individuals. So if your bath is a little too hot, then you're going to get a notification that you lost some points.
Oh my God! And with China, who invented this credit system, they can't stop putting up coal-fired power plants. There's absolutely no carbon regulations at all in China, these countries. But here, we're going to destroying the poor. If you've got tons of money and power, you're fine. If you don't have anything, they're literally, they hate the poor so much that they really want to destroy us. They want us to commit suicide, just like Mao took over China. He had the Red Guard drive the people crazy, that people were committing suicide. They couldn't take the torture anymore.
Yeah, those are called struggle sessions. But Felina, I gotta go because I've been called into my work a little early. So
all
I'm
right,
sorry.
my dog's calling me. And Rob, Deflating Atheism, you don't want to come on? He could be gone already. You sure you don't want to come on, Rob? No, he's probably, maybe he has left the building. Okay. Well, then
I'll see you around.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
There.
Bye.
Right. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody. I wanted to get all that in a nutshell. That this is basically, this is what's going on, and the driving up of gas and oil prices. By doing something ridiculous, we've got this all under our feet for free, and we're going to destroy this nation and the world by being dependent on Putin for our oil. This way, the cost of everything is going to go through the roof, and we're going to lose everything. We're going to lose all. We will own nothing. We will have no home. We won't be able to get to work. This will destroy everything, and they're doing it on purpose. And so, boiling it down, this war, what's going on? The war is here. This is the war. If Russia and Ukraine have a war, that's between Russia and Ukraine, and we can support in other ways. But the war is here. This is the war. This country is the war. We've got a party that one side hates us for no reason, for made-up reasons. And there's no such thing as compassion and love anymore, empathy for people who suffer. We just have to shut up. One group can destroy people, a city, murder, steal. They're fine. Yet, if you want to speak your piece peacefully, you're evil. You're a white supremacist. The war is here, and we don't realize that that's what's happening. And there's, sadly, nothing we can really do about it. What can we do about it? We went and we voted. We didn't expect this. I'm sure a lot of Democrats didn't expect this either. But then again, if they're getting their news from the mainstream media, you know what they're hearing. I almost think I would do a prayer stream, but I almost think that there's nothing. I almost think nothing is going to help. I don't know why I feel this way, and it seems hopeless, doesn't it? I just hope they wake up. Somebody wakes up. It's like, you can't do this. You could destroy everything. And the thing is the people who are on our level that are helping this happen, they don't realize. They think that they're going to be on top. They think that they won't go to jail. They won't be tortured. They'll be compensated for helping this along and censoring us. They don't realize that anybody who would do this to their people, so letting this go on, this tyranny, they're not going to treat anyone right. Not even those who are working with them up there. They're not going to treat anyone right. And it's going to be too late. They're going to learn too late what the truth is. And anyway, I didn't mean for this to be this long. I hope to come on again soon, and hopefully anybody out there who wants to come on the show and speak your piece, if you want to say something, sometimes just having a place to say something, to reach out to other people, maybe in a small way we can help each other, especially get the truth out. We just want peace. We're just trying to eke out a living. We don't hate any minority. We don't hate anyone or whatever religion they are. That's such a lie. We just want peace and prosperity and happiness and to live in a safe world. And we want everyone to live in comfort. We do. That's all we want. And they're treating us like we were actually members of the Democrat Party and slavery and KKK and Jim Crow laws. But we're not that. But the more they point at us, we don't, if they call us racist first, then we can't point back at them because they're the ones who are calling out racism. See, it's usually the one with the fault, the one who's really guilty. You know, the faults you see in others are the faults you have yourself. You have to point to someone else so nobody looks at you. And I think there's a lot of that going on. But I do hope that people who are on the other side start hearing the truth and start waking up. Because this is just awful. So anyway, I say pray anyway. Even if you feel hopeless, it does feel hopeless. Pray anyway. You know, I think if enough of us pray and enough of us stand our ground and say we're going to be good people, no matter what you call us, no matter what you do to us, we're going to still be the people that we always wanted to be. We always want to see in this world. Anyway, God bless you, and thank you for joining, for coming on tonight. And next time you can come on if you like. Alrighty, good night.